So we started talking a little bit about sex, and we should talk about this territory because it touches everything. When it was discovered a long time ago, probably during the last ice ages, that if you took a male animal, like a bear or a lion or a tiger or a wolf, and when it was a baby, if you cut its testicles off, that animal grew calm, gentle, relaxed, and could be tamed. So you turn a bull into an ox, right? And wild wolves became our friends as dogs. And you can have a pet tiger if you want. You just have to cut its balls off. Right? And you can do that to humans. So there might still be parts of the world where there's eunuchs to guard somebody's harem, right? Men who've had their balls cut off. But what was discovered was that, and a long time ago this was discovered, was that you don't have to actually cut anybody's balls off, and you don't have to actually, you can just psychologically cut them off from that part of the body. So you tell people stories about how that part is dirty, bad, ugly, and yucky, and you don't touch it, and you don't talk about it. And if you do, bad things happen to you, and there's a big papa in the sky, some sort of God figure that's looking at you and will punish you for that because you touched yourself, right? And that part's dirty and yucky, and you're supposed to be a virgin anyway, so you should never go out and don't do anything naughty with anybody else. And then you're going to find your partner for life, and then after you're married, then you can lose your virginity because it's so special. And if you don't, you're worthless because we can't get money from his family or her family, right? And you're supposed to have a certain... And what this does is it effectively takes the energy of life, because sex is the energy of life. Sex has been happening for 500 million years plus. There's fossils of male and female animals that go back 500 million years. It's the main driving force of life and diversity on this planet. There are organisms like bacteria and algae that reproduce asexually. They just clone themselves. But all the colors, all the flavors, all the dances, all the songs, all the variety of life comes because of sex. This has been evolving for the past 1 billion years and manifesting itself in our bodies for at least 500 million, 500 million years. So when you block the sex energy, that creates problems. And the easiest way to keep somebody stuck in their child minds, in their external control mind mechanism their entire life, is to repress them or block them in their sex energy and their sexuality. That will, because it's a psychological repression. It's an idea that sex is bad. It's an idea that your genitals are bad, dirty, yucky, sinful, and God will punish you for touching them and playing with them. And don't you dare enjoy touching them. If you touch yourself and you feel pleasure, you're going to go to hell. You're sinning. You're a bad person. And that gets told to us over and over and over again before we even know what sex is, before we even know that we have a penis or a vagina, before we even know what's going on. We already know that that's the dirty part. That's the naughty part. This is what drives us crazy. This plus, and on top of that, if you're angry or sad, repress it. Anger is not acceptable. You should always be happy. You should never be angry. You should push that down, and you shouldn't cry, especially if you're a man, then you really shouldn't cry. This is what drives us mad. And there's a reason. It was discovered thousands of years ago, because these human bodies have been the same for at least 100,000 years. Your body is not the latest Homo sapiens sapiens version. Our bodies are the last version that evolved 100 to 200,000 years ago. And yes, if we come from northern climates where we went through the ice age, there's some slight modifications. And yes, there's been about a dozen different hominin hominid species, and we have interbred, so we have some Neanderthal blood. I probably have more of it because I've got hairy knuckles and hairy toes. But there have been different branches on the evolutionary tree, and we have a bit of a mix, and we have a little bit of different DNA from these different cousins of ours. But Homo sapiens sapiens has been around uninterrupted for at least 40,000 years, at least 25,000 years. There's been no contact with any other. There were some pygmy humans somewhere in Indonesia area that were discovered that were alive 15 or 20,000 years ago. There might have been some contact between them and other humanoids. But for the most part, we're the same body. And what was figured out a long time ago is that we can have orgasms, but orgasms happen when our mind is off. It's a requirement for having an orgasm. You have to be in a temporary state of no mind. So you're so caught up and you're in your senses with your partner that for a moment you forget yourself as a separate being. You don't have a picture of yourself. And the physical stimulus and the genitals are highly innervated. The female genitals, the clitoris area has more nerve endings than any other part of the body, except for the surface of the eye, of course. That's highly innervated. And we can be stimulated to such a point that an automatic behavior comes in, something happens to the energy of the body, your mind shuts off for a moment, and your entire body has this orgasmic peak, this orgasmic release. And if you think of moments that you've had orgasms, where are you? Where's your mind? There's no mind even to think about the fact that you're not there anymore. You're just simply not there, right? And if the other person isn't there and you're both together and you're present and you're aware of each other, you feel a merging, a connection, a oneness, right? And that's part of what makes it beautiful. That's probably the most beautiful thing about it. And then you come back, and you come back to where you were before, which is a separate being with a separate mind. So what was discovered thousands of years ago is that if you're in a healthy body with unrepressed emotions and your mind isn't full of unnecessary thoughts, that with sex, with pleasure, and with orgasm, your mind will stop and reboot itself automatically. And that it's nature's way of saying, hey, now you're old enough, you can reboot your mind. You can drop the child mind. You're not a child anymore. You can make a baby now. And you can experience this level of pleasure, which is a higher order pleasure. I mean, the glee, the joy, the pleasure you can feel as a child is huge. It's infinite. But this is, infinite plus something. It has an extra yumminess to it, right? So this was figured out, and it was figured out that if you block people from this, that they will stay in their child minds and controllable for the rest of their lives. So all the major religions and societal norms and cultures interfere with sex. They teach you things that interfere with the natural process of sex. A healthy way to raise children would be to, when they're babies, not talk to them about sex, not talk to them about love, not talk to them about God. Simply talk to them about what they need to figure out so that they know their bodies. So, Nampu knows when she's tired, when to go to sleep, so that she can wake up without having to use her alarm. She knows if she goes on a school day, if she goes to bed earlier, she'll wake up easier and happier and will have a better day at school. So she does that by herself. Our kitchen is filled with natural, healthy, delicious foods of all types. She gets asked every day, what would you like to eat? And she can eat whatever she wants. And we'll make her and serve her, obviously, whatever is available, whatever she wants to eat. And by the end of the week, she's eaten a little bit of everything. And she already knows that if she eats too much of something, she gets a tummy ache later, or she has a problem going to the bathroom the next day, or if she eats too spicy, or not enough fruits, or not enough vegetables, or too much fried food. She's already figured that out. By the age of 7, 8, she already understood that. She's been given full dynamic range for her emotions. Be angry, be sad, feel this, feel that. We played that game together until it's natural, and now she's just feels good. And if something bothers her, she can be bothered, and then she's unbothered by it, right? And then she's been taught that she has a body that she needs to keep clean and look at and touch and know, and her entire body, all parts of her body, including her flower, right? And she needs to keep her flower clean, and that it feels good to touch it, so she should play with it as much as she wants, but not in public. Not where she can be seen. In her room. In the shower, in the bathtub. Right? And when she comes down, and she can run around naked or in her underwear up in our house, but down here there's staff and there's people, so if she's going to wear a short skirt, then she wears little shorts or little leggings underneath so that she can be safe for her. And in the first 7-8 years of our lives, we should know ourselves and our bodies fully. What feels good, what doesn't feel good. And yeah, there's a period somewhere around 5 or 6, we're going to touch ourselves and play with ourselves. And if no guilt, no shame, no dirty, no yucky, wow, that's great that you're doing that, sweetie. You can just do that laying in your bed or just sitting on the couch over there. Just please don't do it down here with somebody. Just like you close the door when you go to the bathroom, you just close the door when you go play with yourself, and that's okay. So that passes, and then it just becomes a non-issue, right? And then between the ages of 8 and 14, before sex energy comes on, so to speak, is the time when children should be playing together, running around, playing, exploring, looking at each other, going for a swim, right? And then when puberty hits, and it starts, they need to be taught how to protect themselves from getting pregnant, how to not get pregnant. So they should be taught birth control and the importance of washing your hands and being clean, right? And being respectful and not letting anyone touch you that isn't clean or isn't nice to you, and not touching anyone if you're not clean or if you don't like, just, right? And then children should be taught how to play together. Just don't get attached to anyone. If there's a little boy, a little girl that you want to play with, go play with them. If they want to play with you, they play back with you. Do whatever you want. This way you get to sample. First, you get to learn how to know yourself in the first 7 years of life. In the second year, you get to know how to play with others, especially others of the other gender. Right? So you have play dates. Right? Napu has her girlfriends, but then she's got her friend boy. So the word boyfriend has a charge. Oh, he's your boyfriend. No, he's not my boyfriend. He's my friend boy. Ah, he's your friend boy. So she had a play date, and then they come over and they come here, and she's so happy to be able to, 8, 9 years old, and she's got her little friend boys. Right? It's very sweet and it's very cute. And she's already comfortable with the boys. So she plays with the boys, she plays with the girls. Right? Later on, sex energy will come on, and she'll be encouraged to find the healthy ones and practice without getting pregnant. If you have a chance to practice with enough people, and you're not sexually repressed, and there's no guilt or no shame around it, now you're free to go and find someone that you're going to connect with, not just sexually, but also emotionally and intellectually and psychologically and spiritually and lifestyle. And then you can start finding partners that'll be suitable partners. But not because you're sexually repressed. And you've had enough partners that you're not repressed, and you know what it is, and now you can find, because it's not hard to find a good lover. It's natural. Finding someone that you want to spend more time with, well, you find someone that you can play with and make love to once and have a lot of fun, and then a week later, a month later, if you can play with them again and have fun, that's a good sign. And if you can do that for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, eventually you can find someone that you really enjoy being with, and they enjoy being with you. Right? So there's healthier ways of doing things. In Aboriginal cultures, this is how things were run. In tribal cultures, there's a beautiful little culture in the Lake Titicaca area between Peru and Bolivia. It's a little island, and people live on this island. And the children, when they reach puberty, they're encouraged to find friends, find boyfriends, find girlfriends, find lovers. If they find someone they like, the town puts them up in an apartment The conditions are very simple. Don't get pregnant. Live together for 1 year. If after 1 year you still want to be together, consider yourself married and we'll have a celebration. If any time, even on day 364, if you decide you don't want to be with that person, you can leave. No problems. How cool would that be if you'd had a chance to kiss and play and pinch and tickle and bite and make love to all the little boys and little girls in your area that you were attracted to and they were attracted to you, and then you find one, right? The condition is don't stay with anyone more than 3 days, right? Play with someone 1 day, 2 days, and then play with somebody else, and then play with somebody else, and play with somebody, and eventually you find someone that you really want to spend more time with. Now go live with them for a year. Here it is. Here's an apartment. Here's this. Here's that. Here's work. Pretend like you're married for a year. And if a year later that works, keep going. And if it doesn't, stop. It's not a problem. There's no police. There's no jails. There's no psychiatrists. There's no psychologists. There's no madhouses in this culture. Because people aren't sexually repressed and not emotionally repressed, and they're allowed to go out there and taste and sample from the buffet of life and then decide what they want to put on their plate and take it home. So that being an actual real place that you can go visit, and these cultures exist, you can do the same thing for yourself. You can set yourself up so that you learn how to first accept yourself and play with yourself. And any feelings, ideas, judgments, guilt, shames need to be written down and looked at and go, why am I listening to this? Why am I feeling guilt or shame? Because I have this body part and it feels good when I touch it this way. Right? And learning what feels good for you is the easiest way of being able to figure out, finding someone that has the intelligence, the sensitivity, and the interest in figuring out what feels good to them. What feels good to you too, right? It doesn't take a lot to figure out what feels good. You just start connecting with the person, touching, and you can tell immediately whether they're liking it or not. If you're paying attention to your partner, you can tell whether they're enjoying what you're doing or not. It's not that complicated. If you know what you enjoy, then you can also help guide the person. If they know what they enjoy, it's very easy to find. If you know yourself and the other person knows themselves, it's very easy to have a fun sexual encounter. That doesn't mean you'll ever want to see the person again or live with the person or grow with the person or make children with the person. But it's a good start in discovering what kind of person is going to be a good lover. But you can only do that by experimenting, right? By sampling, by being a scientist, and being a human wildlife scientist, studying the mating habits of the strange Homo sapiens sapiens on planet Earth. So you figure out for yourself. Now, if the thought of this brings up fear, shame, guilt, that's a conditioning. Because if you were born into a culture where there was no shame, fear, or guilt around it, well, this conversation wouldn't be having, because it would be as silly as, I don't know, talking about breathing or eating or sleeping. Finding a partner is a natural thing. Every bird, every bee, every frog, every cockroach knows how to go out and find a partner without having to think about it. They just feel their way. It's like, you look good. Hey, let's play. Okay, not you. Oh, you. Oh, hey, you look good. Hey, let's play. Okay, boom. Right? It can be that simple. It really can be that simple. And you should be able to have sampled enough people to be able to find someone very quickly and very easily. You can just tell. This is by the way they smell, by the way they look, by the way they feel, just almost in first sight. You should be able to meet someone and go, this is a potential partner. But it takes time. I mean, think about, you need to go buy some shoes. Now, isn't it true that you want to find shoes, you look at them, there they are, you just grab them, you take them home, and they're going to fit perfectly, and that's it? No, you got to try them on. And some shoes, as soon as you put them on, you're like, no, this isn't going to work. You don't even put on the second, you're like, there's no way this is going to fit. Right? And others, you put them on and you're like, oh, these are great. Then you stand up and like, nope, this isn't going to work. Then these feel good. You're sitting, you tie them on, you stand up, it feels good. You take a step. Nope, these aren't going to work. Me, when I go buy shoes, I put them on, I start jumping up and down and dancing because I got to be able to dance. If the shoes don't feel good dancing, there's no way. Now, obviously, if I'm buying flip-flops, it's different than if I'm buying hiking boots to climb Mount Everest. It's different than if I'm buying dress shoes to go to a business meeting where I'm going to ask for $1 million. But they still need to be comfortable. So if you can't select shoes on a first try without ever trying them on, how could you possibly select your partner and we're going to get married and you have to be a virgin and then we're going to make love and we're going to be soulmates and happy for life? How's that even going to work? There's nothing more complex than another human being. Nothing more complex. If you know yourself, you have a chance at being able to connect with somebody else. If you don't know yourself, you're going to go connect with another infinite mystery. And they don't know themselves. But I've heard that if you date this number of times and he says the right thing and then she says the right thing, that you can let them kiss you or you can kiss them and then you can fondle them and then one day you can make love, but then the next day you're not supposed to call, but if you do, but don't send a message, but don't post it up. what are we talking about? Right? You have instincts, you have intuition, and there's a sex intelligence. Right? So there's a way of mapping that out, and I'm going to describe that next. Does this sound interesting? Yes? Useful? All right. So when it comes to sex, the first step is you need to figure out where you're blocked and what ideas you have about sex, because they're all wrong. And, well, no, okay, yeah. Some ideas are good. Yeah, make sure your hands are clean and make sure you don't let anyone touch you that doesn't have clean hands. As a matter of fact, people that don't have clean hands, I don't want to be anywhere near them. Because if they can't keep their toenails and their fingernails clean and they can't keep their body clean, I don't even want to imagine what's happening, in their hidden bits. If they're visibly not healthy and clean, for me, that's a good sign, right? Now, that doesn't mean they did just come out from, playing rugby and they're covered in mud. You take a shower, but then they come out, they should be clean, right? So that's an idea that I'm going to. I like that idea. I think that I want to be clean and my partner should be clean too and healthy, right? And if you think you're sick or something, get a checkup, right? And of course, we're going to use condoms because we're not going to get pregnant and we're not going to share bodily fluids until we really get to know each other. And then once we have tests, then we can discuss other options, right? Does that make sense? So that's one idea that needs to, but that's a very simple idea. I would say that about somebody preparing food for me too. Our staff, before they come prepare food, they have to shower and change. They're not allowed to just finish cleaning the place and then come down and make dinner. They have to actually clean themselves up, right? And the kitchen has to be clean before they start cooking. This is basic stuff. This is not an interference of sex or sex energy. It's just a practical, logical approach towards life, because some things are required, right? For health and for safety. But apart from that, you should be able to explore your body, touch it, pleasure yourself without having a single negative thought, fear, guilt, or shame come out. And you should be able to play with yourself and massage yourself and use it to turn your mind off. So that means you're not looking at porn, you're not looking at a magazine, you're not imagining somebody else. You're simply just massaging a body part, no different than a hand or a foot or your ears. It's your genitals. And you should be able to gently massage them and feel pleasure to an extent where it turns your mind off. And that goes to a climax, or it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're able to give yourself a lovely massage and just feel good and not feel guilty about it and not feel shame. And if you do feel guilty or shame about this, then you want to be able to write these things down, write them out, burn them, use your dream therapy to release my shame and my guilt around my breast, my penis, my vagina, my anus, my flower, my lingam, my yoni, whatever you want to call it. Right? Does that make sense? Because those are ideas that were given to you externally. Because what's been shown is that when you look at inside of a pregnant woman, that the fetus, the embryo, is playing with itself on a regular basis. And it's through stimulus that this part of the body, remember, you're a spinal column, you're a spinal cord. Your entire brain goes from your tail to your head. And the sexual intelligence is the intelligence at the other end of this spinal column, which has a series of intelligence centers and brains along the way. This is an intelligence that allows you to know right from wrong. You're not capable of knowing right from wrong until you're sexually mature. How interesting is that? And if you don't let someone become sexually mature, then they never know what is right or wrong. And if they never know what's right or wrong, there's a priest, a politician, someone is going to tell you what's right or wrong, and you won't be able to determine for yourself. Not for sure, not 100%. Because you need to be fully sexually mature and present. And then you know what's right or wrong. Then truth, reality, is present, is self-evident. And then life is like this. Imagine you're in a room and you want to leave the room. The lights are on, the doorway is clear, the door is open, everything is well lit. So what do? You simply, isn't it true, you simply walk through the doorway. You never stop and think or try to walk through the wall next to the door. Right? The lights are on, the door is open, you want to go, you just walk through. You never try to walk through the wall. You never even think of, oh, maybe if I run really hard, I can through my head. You just don't do that. It's self-evident. When you're sexually mature and your mind is off and your heart is open and your body's relaxed and you're feeling good and you're present and you're awake, life is that easy. And sometimes you reach a doorway and the lights aren't on, so you look for the light. Or you take out a light. Or the door is closed, so you open it. You still don't try to go through the wall. So the door's locked, so you look for a key or you knock on it. There's always some way to figure out how to get from one place to another because it's self-evident. This is how our intelligence functions. But if your mind is on, then your light is off. When your eyes are closed, you can't see and you don't know. And what could keep your mind on? Well, you have repressed angers and fears that you're keeping down, so you need to keep your mind on, otherwise they come up. And you're sexually repressed because you've been taught to sexually repress yourself your entire life because that's what everybody else is doing. And you never thought, well, what if they're wrong? What if they're just wrong? What if that's not the way life is supposed to be? What if I can just be free and feel pleasure whenever I want to feel pleasure by myself or with somebody else? If they want it and I want it, who's to interfere? Does that make sense? And because of that, because you're free and you're not repressed sexually or emotionally, and you're present and you're clear, you don't need someone to tell you what to do. Because you can figure it out by yourself. And you're not going to go start a war with anyone. You're not going to go hurt anyone or kill anyone because there's abundance. You can find food, you can find shelter, you can find friends, you can find lovers, you can make money. Because you have the skills, you can do it anywhere. Just like you release any bird into the wild and it flies, it catches a bug, it builds a nest, it finds a mate. Not that complicated, a bird can do it, right? A goldfish in your tank, you put it in a pond, and if the conditions are right, it'll go find other goldfish and make goldfish babies, and it's just not complicated. It'll find food, right? So imagine if we humans could do the same, and we can. That's the whole point of this experiment, is to see what happens if two people with nothing show up somewhere with nothing and see what they can figure out and what they can make. Well, we can generate abundance and create a beautiful life and help others and raise a child and run businesses and live good doing it. Have fun, dance, play, make love, right? All of these things we can do because they're the natural intelligence of our body. So you want to be able to tap into that. So the first exercise is being honest with yourself and writing down all your feelings, values, ideas about sex. And are they aligned with reality? Can you even accept the possibility that you could just be free and feel good and find lovers and experiment and play? If you can't free yourself, then you can't do that. But if you can, then you can find others that are also free or open to freeing themselves. then it's easier because two people that are sexually free and emotionally unrepressed and healthy can have a lot of fun together. So you start with yourself. And then once you free yourself, and you do it by writing things down and allowing yourself to feel uncomfortable. And then going back and hearing the voice of your auntie, the old hag that caught you playing with yourself when you were 5 years old and just put the fear of the devil in you, right? Or whoever it was. My great-grandmother was raised by nuns in Chile. Her entire life, she bathed wearing a gown that had slits and wearing gloves. She was raised Christian in Chile. She lived to be 100 and something, and she died, I don't know, like 40 years ago. So 100 years ago, 150 years ago, she was raised in a strict Catholic or Christian environment. And she never looked at herself. She never touched herself with her hands. She used gloves. I can't imagine that she was a very happy, healthy person. So somewhere between that extreme and being a porn star that has to show everybody everything and overdo things, because that's the other extreme, that the whole sexual liberation thing goes a little bit too far. Somewhere there's a balance in just being a healthy body that feels good by itself. And you want to at least find that. If you don't, your mind won't stop. If it doesn't stop, you will always be controlled externally by the external forces around you. So being in a healthy body that feels good for no reason, it's just alive, so it feels good. Emotions that are clear because you're not repressing them, and you called your mom and said you were sorry for saying something bad to her, and you forgave your sister or your brother for being, and you asked for forgiveness for being, and you cleared all your other stuff, so you're emotionally clear, and then now you start exploring yourself, and you start touching, and you start identifying that you have guilt and shame and negative values about the part of your body that's there, not just to help you feel pleasure, but to help you feel sane, to help you shut your mind off. And you learn how to be in a state of extended pleasure, mind off, alone. Just laying in bed, in the bathtub, in a beautiful place, light candles. Right? Like you can give yourself permission. You can dare to make love to yourself. Create a loving environment so that you can just touch and enjoy yourself and feel good touching and enjoying yourself. And if anything comes up that makes you feel like you shouldn't, it's a voice in your head, well, why are you listening to this voice? And whose voice is it? So listen to it very carefully. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's step one. Now, this is for someone who has never been hurt sexually. Some people have been hurt sexually, and most women have been hurt sexually in some way. Either because they've been forced in some way by someone that did not respect them, or because they were repressed and feeling they wanted to be with someone psychologically, mentally, but physically their body didn't actually like that person. So they forced themselves. So then what's been discovered, what's been found, is that when you touch, especially, now I'm going to speak specifically about women. This doesn't happen so much with men unless a man's been raped. But it's not a genital thing. That's usually more of an anal thing. Hard to force a man to have sex. If he's turned off, he's turned off. What can you do to him? Right? But for a woman, you can force a woman, and a woman can force herself. So the way to look at this, the way to study this, is to first get comfortable with touching yourself and let go of shame and guilt. And then second is you want to touch, and you want to touch around the vagina, around the vulva, around the entrance. And you're going to notice that with all the high level of nerves and innervations, and for example, let's say you have the entrance to the vagina, right? And you massage very, very softly and very gently in a circle, like a clock. And you might notice that right at the top of 12 o'clock, it feels good. But 1 o'clock, it hurts or it's numb. And then somewhere else, it feels good. And then somewhere else, it's numb. And somewhere else, it feels good. And somewhere else, it's numb. And what happens is that it's been discovered that first of all, our skin is the outer surface of our brain. It's where all the nerve endings are. Like if you can feel something, it's because it's connected all the way to your brain. Otherwise, how could you feel it, right? If it wasn't connected, you wouldn't be able to feel it. So you have the highest concentrations of nerve endings in your vulva and around your clitoris and around the entrance to the vagina. And something was discovered a long time ago, but is best described through modern language, through NLP, which is our skin has the capacity to anchor a feeling or a sensation. So if you feel good about something, you can create an anchor. You can imagine you're feeling really, really good, and then you touch yourself in that spot. And then you clear yourself, and then you imagine something else that made you feel very happy and very strong, and you touch yourself in that spot. Then you clear yourself, and then you imagine something. You start stacking positive experiences. And then if you touch yourself there, you're going to feel good automatically. How interesting is that? Opposite. You feel unhappy, sad, miserable, scared, guilt and shame, and you touch yourself somewhere else, and you start stacking negative experiences and feeling, and that part will start to go numb, and eventually it'll actually hurt to touch. So every time you've been touched roughly, violently, somebody who's repressed, somebody who's angry, somebody who's not touching you because they love you, they're just horny, and you're just a gateway, you're an opportunity, you're being used as a thing, and you're allowing it to happen, you're going to start stacking these negative experiences and negative emotions. And when you touch yourself there, you're going to feel it. And you can remember, and you can even remember who or why or how it happened. So then what needs to happen is that you need to touch yourself in a loving, beautiful way and feel good, and then you can delete a negative touch by adding positive touches. Yeah, does that make sense? You can start anchoring feeling good, because the reality is that every part of your genitals, every part of your body, if touched with the right intensity, at the right amount of gentle, obviously you can touch too hard and too strong, right? But if you touch the right way, touch feels good. It's supposed to feel good. What we do is we end up anchoring in negative feelings, negative emotions, and negative experiences, especially in our genitals. So if we've had sex, no, this is for men and for women. If you've had sex while you're angry, or sad, or depressed, or bored, you're anchoring in anger and sadness and boredom onto this experience. So you're going to want to think about anchoring in beauty and respect and love and appreciation and acceptance. You're going to want to overdo that. You want to have more. So you've been touched one time negatively, you want to touch yourself at least 2 times positively. You've been touched 10 times negatively, well, at least touch yourself 11 times positively and clear it out. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. And we do this accidentally. We don't know. But we can have all sorts of negative associations. And the genitals get targeted as such because they're kind of like a taboo area. They're like, most of us are cut. For example, here, you go get a massage, and people stop before they get to that part. Or you got to pay extra to get a special massage or a hand job or whatever it is, right? And then it's considered something different and something else, and there's a different energy about it. It's very rare and difficult to find someone that will give you a full body massage and massage your entire body, as a whole thing, from head to toes. And along the way, there's breasts, there's genitals, there's an anal area, and there's ways of massaging these parts that feel great. They feel really good, having a nice full body massage where you're integrated as an entire body. Right? Does that make sense? So this is something that you can do for yourself. And then you do it for yourself, and you have a friend that can also do it for themselves, and it's something you can do for each other. And it's very, very healing to be able to first touch and massage yourself and just integrate and be able to accept your entire body. Your entire body feels good. Everything's good. I mean, you don't touch your eye, right? But every part, you take care. Everything is taken care of. Your body feels great. You got a nice full body massage. And you learn to be comfortable with that. Then there's someone you like, someone you trust or except as a lover or as a friend. And you play this beautiful game. The game is, I'm going to massage you, or you're going to massage me, but we're not having sex. I'm going to keep my clothes on. I might even wear gloves. And then massage the whole body as one. That way you learn to touch and accept your entire body as one, and then you go to a place or you invite someone that you trust to give you a full massage, but not as a sexual exchange, just as a whole, you're just a whole body. You have once, your skin is the largest organ, and you're cutting it into parts, saying, this part, you can't touch this part. This part, I can't let anybody touch because this is, special or dirty or bad or good or only for the person I'm going to marry at the altar in front of the priest, with my family, and I have to be a virgin, so you don't touch that. And you take turns massaging each other. That will clear all the negative charges away. And then one day, if you like, you can make love and have a beautiful lovemaking experience. Because first, you learned and you've taken out any negative programming, associations, touch that's been anchored through anger, through fear, through hate, through sadness, through manipulation, through control, power plays, right? Because politics comes into this, right? If the guy wants sex, the girl, what am I going to get in exchange for it? Or how am I going to control, right? Now, the thing to understand about sex is that sex is naturally an exchange. It's always an exchange. The alpha male, the alpha lion or tiger or bear or whatever, the hippo, whatever it is in exchange for being the one that mates with the females, is providing a territory and protecting. And it's the strongest one, the best lion, that gets the females. And it's the same with apes, and it's the same with humans. There is a certain exchange, because if you're going to surrender your body and raise a child, you want to make sure that it's with a male that's going to protect you and take care of you and take care of the child. This is a natural biological instinct, right? So there's going to be an exchange, a sharing in exchange for protection, for abundance, for territory, right? This is a natural thing. So it's of value to understand our biology of how our body works, because sex is supposed to feel good. It's not supposed to be painful. If it was free and natural and people could just play and make love as children, as kids, obviously not as babies, but kids will play. They'll run around naked and play, and there's it's not sexual, but it's part of the energy of life, right? And then later, when you're sexually mature enough, you can actually start having sexual encounters and start learning how to have orgasmic experiences alone and with your partners. And then eventually you can find someone that will fit and match with you physically, emotionally, psychologically, and for the lifestyle and the quality of life you want to have. And then you can find someone, and you can go on that journey of being with somebody else. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. And the only thing that's interfering with that is what's in your mind. And what's in their mind, obviously. Right? So there are schools where you can learn how to, first there's therapists where you can go get what's known as sexological bodywork or somatic sex massages and bodyworks. There was a school in San Francisco. Now, I went and I studied at one of these schools, and it was a very intense program, 6 weeks of learning how to massage and give massage and receive massage and be comfortable with your body. And there were exercises where you'd have to get naked in front of somebody you don't know and massage yourself and pleasure yourself to break through having guilt and shame and fear, right? And then you're naked, the other person is closed, and you massage and touch yourself in front of the other person, and they don't like watch and stare at you. They just sit there. They're present, and they're like kind of like turned to the side, right? So you're there massaging yourself, and I'm just here present with you. And I'm just here. I'm not staring at you, but I'm just present, and I'm accepting that you are going through this experience, right? So there was 18 of us, and these were some of the exercises, right? Then there would be massage tables and we would go and give full-bodied massages where you touch the whole body. You start from the extremities, from the toes, from the fingers, from the heads down, and then you work down and you start massaging, gently massaging the outer part of the genitals and connecting the entire body. And I have to tell you, it is incredibly pleasurable and therapeutic and healing to just be treated as an organic unity. And to not be cut and separated into good parts and bad parts and dirty parts, and just touched from head to toe. No attention. Okay? And then special attention starts going towards the genitals and the anal area separately. And then the massages increase in intensity. And then as your fears come up, okay, so this is something you can do for yourself because you have the breathing exercise. You start massaging yourself and you start feeling guilt or shame, start doing your breathing exercise. Stay with the guilt and the shame and the pain and the fear. I'm not talking pain because you have a physical problem. I'm talking pain because you were forced, you were hurt, and there's a pain. It reminds you. You feel disgusted. It makes you want to throw up, or it makes you feel sick because something happened, right? Does that make sense? And then you breathe through, and if you need to, you do breathing exercise number 3, where you just do the heavy breathing, and then exhale, clench, touching, and then have the explosion. And at that moment, you stop touching yourself, and you do it until your body explodes in orgasm. That's how you free it, and that's how you break. And this is used for breaking people who've been tortured, people who've been genitally mutilated, people who've been raped, genitally, anally, whatever the story is. You can break through that in a couple of sessions. So you can find a therapist in an area near you, and even better, you go and take the course, find a trainer, and learn how to do it for yourself. It's really amazing, beautiful work. And now you have a skill that you can share with people that need it. And I'm a trained facilitator, so I share with people, this is what you need to do. And there's links to videos you can watch of how people massage each other, because there's different techniques. Because people don't usually think about it. People just think of, it's just a hand job, right? And that's all that's happening. Well, no, think of a foot massage. Pressure points, and there's, right? You can spend 30 minutes, an hour on a foot, just giving a nice full foot massage. On your genitals, you can spend 30, 40 minutes, an hour getting a massage, just gently, specifically in your genitals. Slightly different types of movements and touches for men and women, for male bodies and female bodies. But the end result is that you can use it to completely clear your mind and anchor in having positive feelings. Now, the result of that is that once you do that, once you're clean, you probably won't let anybody who's dirty touch you again. Whoops, but you know what? I just cleaned the house, and you were out playing in the mud and you want to come in. I'm not going to let you into my house. I'm going to go take a shower. Right? I mean, you come in and the first thing I ask you is, please go in the bathroom and wash your feet, get your salt, and then come inside. Then you're welcome. Right? Clean your energy first. So if somebody has violent, aggressive, misogynist, repressed sexual energy, you'll be able to tell the difference. You won't even get turned on by them anymore. But if you've had violence and negativity, especially if you had it as a child, or you were raised in an environment where the men and the women in your family and your upbringing were aggressive, repressed, violent, sexually and emotionally, then you're going to imprint that behavior, and you might end up seeking it out. It might be that you only find yourself attracted to that type of guy that has that energy, or that type of girl that needs that energy. Not needs it because they physically need it, but because psychologically they've imprinted, this is what love is. It's not. It's just dirty, bad sex. It's just unhealthy sex. It has nothing to do with love. Sex is sex. And sex is awesome. Sex feels great. Sex can take you to super consciousness and enlightenment. Then love happens. People usually confuse the beautiful experience that they have with someone like it's love, and now they're in love and they want to try to... And it's not love, it's just sex. I'm not lowering love. I'm raising sex to its appropriate quality. Love is even better. Love is what grows when the energy of sex has grown beautifully and has passed. And now there's an opening for love to grow. There's a spectrum of energy. At the lowest level is sex. Sex with awareness, with acceptance and understanding what it is, that sex energy turns into love energy. And then that love energy expressed with many people evolves and grows into compassion. But these are things that are beyond mind. That's why all the thoughts and ideas about sex, love, and compassion that you have, you need to know what they are, because if you're letting them run your life, they're going to interfere, they're going to be wrong. Because it's not a territory of the mind. It's an intelligence that's been around for 500 million to 1 billion years. And mind as we know it has been around for, 10,000 to 100,000 years maximum. And this intelligence has been around for at least 1,000 times longer. There is a natural sex intelligence that will help you find your mate and feel good and guide you towards your peak of consciousness is through sex. Osho has a great book called From Sex to Superconsciousness. It's one of his Tantra books. There's 3 books that he has, and one of them is From Sex to Superconsciousness. And he maps out what's known about this. You can figure it out for yourself, because all you got to do is realize that, wait a minute, when I'm having an orgasm and I'm with someone and I feel safe and relaxed and my heart's open, and where's my mind? Oh, well, it's nowhere. So the next time you're in that, you have that opportunity, which I hope for everyone happens often, in a healthy, mutual, consenting manner, that you notice that my mind's, I'm unaware. And then, of course, that's a thought, and then you let it go, and you learn how to be present. And the highest state of consciousness that you'll be able to encounter is being fully present while making love to another person who's fully present. That's the peak. But that means you're not thinking about something else. There's no fear. You're not imagining. You're not, visualizing you're with somebody else. You're just fully present, fully engaged, feeling, thinking, smelling, kissing, touching, right? Connecting. So, because of this, people who go through this, people who free themselves, you can't convince them that there's a priest or a rabbi or a preacher somewhere that's going to talk to God for them. I mean, can someone sneeze for you? Can they drink water for you? Can they pee for you? Can they poop for you? No. Can they eat for you? No. How can they talk to God for you? You want to talk to God for me? Fantastic. Can you breathe for me too? You can pay my bills. Okay, you can do that for me, but you can't eat for me, poop for me, sleep for me. You can't do anything for me. You can pick my nose for me, but you won't know how it feels. Only I can do it. Right? And if there's a God I need to talk to, I'm the only one that can talk to him. Well, who are you to interfere? You can't do anything for me. Not even you can't sleep for me. You can't do anything natural and normal for me. How could you possibly do something so extraordinary as communing with the Creator for me? But you can convince a child that somebody can. Because your parents can do things for you, they can provide food and shelter for you and protect you. And if you stay in your childish mind, then that mind will accept that there's a papa figure that can do things for you. Right? And how do you keep a child in their mind? Well, you keep them disconnected from their body, disconnected from their emotions, sexually repressed, and dependent on government, society. Right? Papa figure, mama figure, a king, a queen, a pope, a rabbi, a prime minister, a president. They will take care of you. Well, look around. How is the world being taken care of? Is it to your satisfaction? I mean, I've had a great life, but really, I think the world is not being taken care of to my satisfaction. It's not how I would do things. This is how I would do things. And this is how I live, and this is how I teach people to figure it out for themselves so you can go out and do your things your way, in a way that makes you feel happy and healthy. That requires a lot of deprogramming. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. And the good thing is that you're self-contained. You can do all of this by yourself. You don't need anybody. But you can find people to help you. And you can pay for certain services, and you can request people to, just like if you have a broken foot, or you need a back massage, or right, you need some therapy, you need some help, you can also get support in releasing emotions and getting specialized massages. Find them on the internet and practice them yourself. It's really not that complicated. The biggest block is going to be your mind. Oh, that's dirty. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, I can't do that. Right? And if that's there, then you want to write that down and think of releasing that first in your dream therapy by writing it down and by burning it. Right? Does that make sense?